Thanks for joining us for this first series of Africa Rising. I'm Adrian Saville.
And I'm Bronwyn Nielsen.
The ambitious and widely celebrated African Continental Free Trade Area went live on the 1st of January 2021.
With a combined gross domestic product of $3.4 trillion, linking 2 billion people and ultimately 55 African Union states.
It's fitting that we begin our series in the Republic of Ghana, home to the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat.
Ghana played a central role in the actual negotiations of the CFTA between 2015 and 2018. Ghana was one of the first countries to sign the CFTA and was indeed also the first country to ratify the agreement.
The world is watching to see whether the Secretariat will indeed provide the springboard for Africa's economic integration and rapid growth.
And I think the success of AfCFTA will be determined by three things. First and foremost is African countries have to make what other African countries consume. And so there need to be some fundamental changes to what we export. We can no longer continue to export raw produce, but we have to be exporting finished goods which other African countries will buy. And there are some very significant plans in play, as the President in his State of the Nation speech has announced. Talk about processing more of our cocoa, more industrialization, more additional power, to take advantage of that. So that's number one. Number two is trade links. And, traditionally the African continent's trade links have been fantastic between Africa and the rest of the world, but pretty bad between the rest of Africa. And I know Ghana's working very hard to revive its national shipping lines so that it should be as quick to move up and down the West Coast to deliver goods and services, as opposed to, it's quicker at the moment to send goods up to Rotterdam and back down to Lagos and go straight across. And I think thirdly, bringing transparency to just the cost and the friction cost of doing business. I mean, if you were to jump in a truck and go from South Africa or from Cape Town to Nairobi, trying to deliver goods for sale, the cost of doing that is significantly higher than if you were flying the goods in from China. If you're driving goods from Abidjan to Lagos, the cost of goods doing so is significantly high. And so, at AfCFTA, Ghana is very much the center of working very closely to reduce those friction costs, to increase the opportunities available for African companies to take advantage of this new free trading zone.
And we believe that free movement of goods, particularly food items, it helps food security, it helps local manufacturers, and eventually it helps farmers as well. As more agro-processed commodities move around freely, it definitely is a huge deal for Africa, and particularly for local manufacturers and farmers.
Geography offers a first lens in considering a country's circumstances, context, and prospects.
The Republic of Ghana is in West Africa and is situated on the coast of the Gulf of Guinea, bordered by Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, and Togo.
Geographically, Ghana is closer than any other country to the center of the planet,
with on average 8 hours of flying time to Europe and the Americas.
We are 0 degrees, place 4 degrees north, and we're probably no more than 5 or 6 hours from any major city of the continent, first and foremost.
The country has 3 major geographic regions: coastal, forest, and northern savanna.
The boundaries, however, are not necessarily clearly defined or demarcated.
By far the smallest of the regions is the coastal zone, which naturally is home to commercial and artisanal fishing industries and small-scale farmers.
The agricultural base and seaboard has made the region an important commercial hub.
The forest region occupies about 1/3 of the country and boasts rich agricultural lands. Almost all the timber, cocoa, mineral wealth, as well as a number of cash crops grown for export, and a large part of the foodstuffs consumed in Ghana come from the forest region.
The northern savanna covers some 2/3 of the country, but is economically the least developed of the 3 regions. Distance from the sea has historically stunted growth in this region, explained and aggravated by infrastructure deficits. The extensive savanna vegetation is well suited to livestock breeding.
With a population of 31 million people, Ghana ranks as one of Africa's leading economies because of its considerable natural wealth, its high per capita income in the region, and by virtue of the fact that it was one of the first countries in Africa, south of the Sahara, to achieve independence from colonial rule.
More than half of Ghana's population resides in urban centres, and about 2/3 of Ghanaians are under the age of 30, making for a young, vibrant, urbanised population.
Accra is the most densely populated city in Ghana and is home to an area known as the Ministries, where the country's government administration is located.
Ghana enjoys a robust democracy and is ranked as the most stable political environment within the West African sub-region and 5th in Africa.
The country has established democratic institutions and systems to ensure good governance and rule of law.
Human rights lawyer Nana Akufo-Addo won the presidential election in December 2016, defeating incumbent John Mahama after a hotly contested race that was seen as a test of the country's democracy in a region that is generally seen to be plagued by dictators and coups.
President Akufo-Addo won re-election in December 2020, again defeating John Mahama.
It has had a very stable democracy for over 25 years, successive handovers of political power between, very different centre-left and centre-right parties.
Ghana also enjoys a high degree of media freedom, and the private press and broadcasters operate without significant restrictions.
Radio is Ghana's most popular medium, although it is being challenged by increased access to TV. High growth momentum since 2017 has consistently seen Ghana placed among Africa's 10 fastest growing economies.
Improvements in the macroeconomic environment has been accompanied by expansion in domestic demand due to increased private consumption. A significant portion of GDP, half of GDP, is derived from the services sector.
Ghana has ambitions to be the financial hub for the region. So the Secretariat sitting in Ghana plays an ideal role to help governments enable that realization. And also it will also attract investors to Ghana, to help governments with the objective of becoming an industrialization country.
Talking about industrialization, Ghana is already positioned as the manufacturing hub for many products in West Africa.
The larger Africa Trade Treaty now enlarges the canvas for Ghana manufacturers, and equally some of us hope that this treaty will open the doors for Nigeria as well. So Nigeria is part of the current ECOWAS treaty with some exceptions. We believe with the larger treaty it will be a game changer for Ghana if it can access Nigeria.
For the last century, cocoa has been the mainstay of the Ghanaian economy.
With Ghana the world's second largest producer of cocoa globally.
Historically, Ghana has enjoyed a long, robust relationship with Switzerland, being Switzerland's largest trading partner in sub-Saharan Africa, with substantial exports of cocoa and gold to Switzerland. However, Ghana no longer wants to be dependent on the export of raw materials, including cocoa beans.
We intend to process more and more of our cocoa in our country with the aim of producing more chocolate ourselves, because we believe that there can be no future prosperity for the Ghanaian people in the short, medium or long term if we continue to maintain economic structures that are dependent on the production and export of raw materials.
I think it's a well-known fact that when you look at the value chain for cocoa, those who produce it and just export raw beans only receive 5% or so of the value. So it absolutely makes sense for us to process more, because if we process more, we're more likely to be able to capture more of the value chain and then maybe go into the manufacturing of chocolate. And I think there is some work to be done. Ourselves and Ivory Coast produce 70% of the world's cocoa. It makes absolutely no sense for us to be sending that outside in order to have it processed. It can all be done here. So I think that the world has changed now, and the reality is that things like AFCTA and the right sort of leadership will drive more value addition in the continent, which will create more value and allow us to actually get rid of aid. Ghana Beyond Aid is a catchword a phrase that's been around for 5 years now, and we're now in the process of actualizing that.
Today, the export sector is dominated by gold and crude petroleum, with Ghana enjoying plentiful oil and natural gas reserves.
The Ghanaian domestic market is important, and the value of food produced for local consumption is considerable.
Ghana is ranked the best place for ease of doing business in West Africa. That's according to the Ease of Doing Business Report 2019.
The World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index 2018 rates the country as the most competitive economy in the West African sub-region and number 10 in sub-Saharan Africa.
And EY's 2018 Attractiveness Survey places it as the second most attractive FDI destination in West Africa and puts it at number 7 in sub-Saharan Africa.
As we stated earlier, Ghana is geographically closer than any other country to the center of the planet, with an average of 8 hours of flying time to Europe and the Americas.
The refurbished Kotoka International Airport is world-class and key to the West African region, serving numerous flights from within the continent, Europe and the rest of the world.
Ghana is also home to Tema, one of West Africa's largest ports. A good network of trunk roads and immediate access to the market of over 350 million people of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, all reinforce Ghana's position as a leading destination in West Africa.
As in the rest of the world, the shock caused by the COVID-19 pandemic has had considerable impacts on Ghanaian businesses, and many companies have had to cut costs by reducing staff hours, cutting wages, and in some cases laying off workers.
The Ghanaian government did, however, move very quickly to put in place diverse support for business, including the establishment of a coronavirus alleviation program to protect jobs, livelihoods, and support small business.
Earlier this month, we celebrated the arrival of vaccines on the continent, and Ghana was one of the first countries in Africa to receive the COVID-19 vaccine.
I've been fortunate in having a leader who reacted quite quickly when it came to the beginning of the pandemic, when things were unclear. We had the borders shut down, the country shut down, and so that significantly limited the spread. We had some very good communication, so we were regularly updated along the way. And we were able to put together, or the country was able to put together a team who were able to make representations to COVAX to the point where, globally, we were the first country to have our plan approved and the vaccine delivered.
COVID could have been a big variation. Thankfully, it was not. We had a fairly normal season last year, including the two crops that we are associated in Ghana as Olam. Cocoa and cashew largely went normal.
I think COVID, as has happened everywhere, has had a negative knock-on effect on most economies, Ghana inclusive, and also households and businesses. But I should say that despite these negative effects, the government, including all stakeholders, have managed it very well to date. As best as they can, given the resources that we have.
And this pandemic has taught us a number of things. It's taught us even to reinforce our role as a bank, to really be here to support the socio-economic development of the markets that we operate in.
As in the rest of the world, the migration to the use of digital solutions went a long way to maintaining business continuity. And the subsequent acceleration of digitization will ultimately increase productivity and ensure additional resilience to future challenges.
Nana Akufo-Addo has indicated that all Ghanaians will be vaccinated. How the country will secure enough doses is not yet clear. And there are questions around how those doses will be stored and distributed, as well as questions around the capacity of the country's existing cold chain infrastructure.
And there's also a major final hurdle to clear, convincing many skeptical Ghanaians that the vaccines on offer are safe and effective. As in many parts of Africa, fake news and misinformation on social media and in certain quarters of the popular press are fanning those embers.
But the good news is that Ghana's immunization infrastructure does have an enviable record, with immunization coverage that has helped reduce infant mortality and the incidence of vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles.
In further testimony to Ghana's innovative culture, a startup out of Ghana Tech Lab, Incus Diagnostics, has developed a rapid test that detects COVID-19 antibodies.
Incus has been working on the tests since February 2020, and it takes 15 to 20 minutes to get results with the test.
Incus is currently waiting for FDA approval concerning the test kit and has ambitions to expand to other countries on the continent in the years ahead with other tests on their product list.
We caught up with Francisca Adomako, Chief Technology Officer at Incas Diagnostics, to discuss the breakthrough.
I speak to you now. We actually have 2 COVID products. We have one for the antibodies and one for the antigen. And so what we did alongside working on the antibody test was develop the antigen test. And as I speak to you now, we have put both together, the antibody test that we had to rework on, and then the antigen test that we have really developed.
There are some amazing innovations taking place in Ghana at the moment, and these innovations may well be exported across the West African region, or perhaps within the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area across the whole of Africa.
I think one great thing is the apps and fintech industry that the young entrepreneurs, the youth are bringing up. And I believe that they need all the resources to be able to succeed and also to be a catalyst to the economy. More so, the government is launching a development bank, and I guess this will be a game changer.
We now have a biometrically based national ID card, which has a 256-bit chip embedded in it. And so every adult above the age of 18 should have one. I think 15.5 million have been issued and another couple of million to go. That card from the 1st of June, the number on your card will now become your tax number. So that is being duplicated. Your national health number will now be kept on that card. That card acts as a passport within ECOWAS. And a number of other institutions, that card is now essentially by law becoming the official ID, and it will have a multiple of uses, which means that we're now beginning to get a fully integrated, digitally based economy, which will help us to, your card has your biometric address, it has your GPS-based address on it, has your biometric details, it has your mobile money account on it. And you can imagine the power that has as the mandatory use of this card grows. So that I think is incredibly innovative and will add, percentages to GDP over time. And then the other thing you might read a lot about is the delivery of medications and vaccines as well using Zipline. We were the seed country to back and get involved in Zipline, which is a drone delivery service. And rather than having, sparsely or scarcely available medications available, being held in different locations, they're held in one location. And I think within half an hour, they can be dispatched and dropped to almost any point in the country. And I think, the younger generation we have on the ground, and I spend quite a lot of time with them, mentoring them, the innovations coming through that in financial services and in digital solutions, in agriculture and finance. Ghana is a hotbed of innovation, and more importantly, it's an incredibly cheap and incredibly safe, an incredibly easy place to live, and so we're seeing many multinationals flocking here.
As we come to the end of our first country focus in our documentary series on Africa Rising, it's abundantly clear that Ghana has a very important role to play as we move into this next phase of Africa's development.
The decade may have been born into crisis, but the African economy sits on the cusp of transformation, with the African Continental Free Trade Area offering the launchpad, a platform for this game-changing opportunity in Africa's economic story.
In our next series, we focus on Rwanda, who continues to drive an ambitious economic agenda
and is focused on positioning the country as a global hub for anyone thinking of doing business in Africa.